Welcome to the Savage Nation, your Friday morning edition. Now, it's still early in the day and anything might happen, but every child in America who could see knew that Grandpa Biden, the mean Grandpa Biden, the deranged Grandpa Biden, was crazy. Even when he spoke briefly, they saw he was nuts. Everyone knew it except those who were capitalizing on his madness. And today we wake up after a big boy press conference. I hope you heard me because the microphone was over there. I was focusing on Bozo rather than on the microphone. Can you hear me now? If you hear me now, comment. Comments are welcome on the Savage Nation broadcast. The fact is that we all saw last night the pureness of his madness. Now, today, the DNC holding company, the super PAC that holds the money for the campaign, is withholding $90 million because they realize he's completely shot nuts. Now, I want you to understand something. I don't need George Clooney. I don't need any of the media figures to tell me what's what. I'll tell them what's what. I know more than they do. And I've been telling you for several years now, he's been exhibiting the signs of Parkinsonian dementia. Now it's being confirmed by so-called experts in Parkinson's. Well, I'm not an expert in Parkinson's, but I know something about these things, as I told you before. And I told you that for 2 years, I've been telling you that a second year medical student, as near as 10 years ago, could have diagnosed him watching his gait and his slurs, et cetera, and tell you it was Parkinson's dementia. But we're past that. Now he gets up and gives a speech that's supposed to save him, and he introduces Zelensky as Putin. Now, let's pause on that. You say it's just a gaffe. No, this is beyond a gaffe. This is the equivalent of introducing, I don't know, FDR as Hitler or something like that in that era. Can you imagine that? You can make any parallel that you want. Now, other stories come to mind, such as The King Has No Clothes, the great child fable. It wasn't really a fable about children. It was written allegedly for children for fear of being executed by the authorities at the time. The king has no clothes. The king went by and he was naked. Everyone applauded like he was wearing his royal finery. But a child said, "Mommy, the king has no clothes." Of course, they needed a child to say the king has no clothes. Well, I'm no child and the king has no brain. But this is dangerous now. There's some literary analogies for this that I haven't yet been able to determine in literature. I don't know what the literary background is for a mad king like this. You say King Lear. There's a piece of King Lear going on here, but it's not King Lear. It's much worse than that. We've heard the elder abuse. We know it's the wife. She's crazy on the power. She loves it. Who wouldn't? Who doesn't like Air Force One? Would you rather fly on Spirit Airlines with some inner city folk and be around a fist fight? No, you'd choose Air Force One if you could. So they like Air Force One. They love it. I remember I was at a dinner with President Trump and Melania, the great, beautiful Melania, and several other couples. It was a table of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people at Mar-a-Lago. It was a beautiful dinner, one of the high points of my dining life. And a pissing contest emerged between the president and a very wealthy individual who was boasting about his new Gulfstream 650. And President Trump, of course, was using Air Force One. And then the conversation emerged to how many engines does the G650 have? How many engines what's the range of the G650 versus Air Force One? And then, Donald, how many young men do we have around us protecting us? It was like 1,000. Okay, you get the joke? Who wouldn't want 1,000 bodyguards and Air Force One and the whole world kissing your feet? I mean, she's a hippie social worker. She's done well for herself. So she doesn't want to let go of it. So they've been hiding him, blocking him, putting him on the shelf, wheeling him out for an occasional hate speech every once in a while, attacking white people, glorifying people of color like they're all sacred. All people of color are wonderful, and all people of white, meaning no color, are terrible. This is the man that you're dealing with. This is a lunatic. This man is absolutely not qualified for the presidency, never has been. He tried it for years, couldn't make it. Whenever he tried, he lied. He said, I was number one in my law school class. He was like number 95 out of 98. I was on full scholarship. He had no scholarship. The man is a liar. He's a pathological liar. Now, this is interesting unto itself. You have a pathological liar who is now senile, who doesn't even know that he's lying anymore. I'm not so sure that pathological liars even know they're lying. I think it becomes so part of their nature that when they lie, they think it's the truth. So what he said last night, look at the polls. I'm not down. And by the way, could you really trust a poll? Okay, these were just lies, political lies, and I've seen these before, not a big deal. But when he introduced Trump as Vice President Trump, when he meant Harris, then he called Zelensky Putin. I said, he's gone, he's shot, he's got to be taken out by the 25th Amendment. They've got to do it. So the money bags behind him, whoever they may be, the billionaires who were supporting this clown, and I have nothing against clowns. I've always liked clowns going back to Emmett Kelly. I think clowns are wonderful people. But this is a man who has his finger on war and peace, and he's waging wars around the world. Yes, he instigated the war between Ukraine and Russia. Yes, he could have stopped it when it started. Yes, the world fell apart in the Middle East when there had been peace. The Arabs and the Jews were at a relative, I almost said stagnation. They were at a relative state of peace because of Donald Trump. This lunatic, madman, and the fraternity boys around him, Jake Sullivan, I don't even remember their names. Look at their faces. Do they look like men who understand the world to you? So now there's war there. There's war here. There's China's about to do Taiwan. There's no end to this. So now we push Russia into an alliance with China, their natural antagonist. Now China and Russia, of course, are together because of this lunatic, or Anthony Blinken or Anthony Sullivan, whoever they are, the revolving door of fraternity boys have now created an alliance against us that is much stronger than our alliance with the weakling lunatics in NATO. When the maniac gave the Presidential Medal of Freedom the other night to Stoltenberg, I said, this is crazy. You're giving the Presidential Medal of Freedom to a warmongering crypto Nazi like Stoltenberg of NATO? It gets worse by the day. Then he makes these mistakes last night. So let's get down to brass tacks, because it's going to be a shorty today. When Trump was president, the vermin in the media, and I'll repeat the word, vermin in the media, Jake Crapper, Nancy Gash, whatever her name is, all of them, vermin, garbage, filth, the lowest. They're the reason that we have this fraud in the White House. There's a reason there's war going on around the world. It's because of the vermin in the media. The vermin in the media have a job. You know what their job is? To keep politicians in line by telling the truth, by calling them as they are. Instead, you have Jake Crapper, Dana Gash, and the others in the media who were enabling him all these years, like Morning Joe and Hitler's daughter there. Morning Joe and Hitler's daughter. That's a person to refer to, Morning Blow and Hitler's daughter, that's a show on MSNBC. They refer to them like they're some God Almighty. Vermin, that's what they are, vermin. A bug, I wouldn't step on a bug. I let ants out of my house. I let flies out of my window. I'm not so sure I would let Morning Blow out of my window if he was flying around here. I think I get a swatter. If he was a fly, if he came back as a fly, if Morning Blow came back as a fly and I knew it was him, I'd swat him. So we got the 25th Amendment. When Trump was president, the vermin in the media was screaming, 25th Amendment, every other day. Take Trump out on the 25th Amendment. There was no reason for it. They just didn't like his politics. Well, now we have a president who should and must be removed for the sake of the world by the 25th Amendment. So let's look at it together. It's very clear how it's done. What is the 25th Amendment? Oh, here it is. It was put in after the assassination of President JFK. There was no 25th Amendment before that. It was ratified It was proposed by Congress and ratified by the states in the aftermath of the assassination of President JFK. And we read it provides the procedures for replacing the pres or VP in the event of death, no, removal, resignation, or incapacitation. So we'll focus on Biden's incapacitation. He is clearly incapacitated. The Watergate scandal of the 1970s saw the application of the 25th. First, when Gerald Ford, the klutz, replaced Spiro Agnew as vice president, and then when Gerald Ford, the klutz, replaced Richard Nixon as president, and when Nelson Rockefeller, remember the one who died banging his hooker on a desk and had a heart attack? That's when Nelson Rockefeller, who died banging a hooker on actually his secretary, he was banging his secretary on his desk and had an HA, and they found him. She reached for the phone. I mean, I was a kid at the time. I was a young man. The governor of New York was banging his secretary on his desk in his office. And he has an HA. He was a big guy, and she couldn't get up. She's laying there underneath him, suffocating under the Hulk over her. And she reaches for the phone like a movie and makes a call, help, help, I can't get out of here. And okay, and that's when Nelson Rockefeller filled the resulting vacancy to become the vice president, etc. So let's go on. It's not Section 1 of the Amendment 25. The 25th is not Section 1. There's several sections. It is Section 4 that would have to be invoked. And this is the tough part. It's whenever the vice president and the majority of either the principal officers of the executive departments or of such other body as Congress may by law provide, transmit to the president pro tempore of the Senate and Speaker of the House of Reps their written declaration that the president is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. The VP shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the office. So you're telling me Kamala Harris has the guts to work with Congress to remove him? Not in a million years. Not in a million years will that happen. So I don't think this is going to happen. It can't happen because she's got to do it. Now, it's true that Vice President Trump could do it because he was declared vice president last night. So there's a likelihood that Trump can invoke the 25th Amendment right now. Look, we're living, I bring out a clown. What can I say? One thing I've learned in my life, in the years God has given me, and it's been long and wonderful, and all of us live lives of quiet desperation. No matter who you see pretending to be happy, the hookers, the hooker celebrities who one day they're showing them they're in Cannes, they're on a yacht somewhere, doing 18 guys on the back of the yacht, and you're supposed to look up to these pieces of crap, this human trash. The next day they're dead from a drug overdose or in rehab, and then you're supposed to worry about them in rehab, the people with fake brains. All of us lead lives of quiet desperation. That's a given. And once you understand that, life becomes enjoyable. Once you stop struggling to be happy, the Constitution, you have the right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Doesn't mean you're going to be happy. You have the right to pursue happiness, which is the joke. It's the conundrum. You can always pursue it, but you ain't going to find it. Yes, there are moments of happiness. I wrote this when I was 18 years old in one of my journals, that, life is basically sad with occasional bursts of joy. That's about it. The Buddhists knew that. They understood that. Their whole religion is built around the fact that life sucks. It's miserable for most people. You're born, and the minute you're conscious, you realize you're going to die, and all you do is watch your body decay. That's all. How's that for a joke? No matter what you do, I don't care what vitamins you take. I don't care how many times you run around the lake. You are decaying, Jack, no matter what you do. So, just lay back and enjoy it. Yeah, you can do things to speed up the decline or slow down the decline. You can learn how to breathe. You can learn how to eat. You can learn how to drink, what not to drink, what not to eat. You learn stress reduction. You learn to avoid toxic people to the best of your ability. If you're lucky, you can get through, life without hurting yourself or others. That's if you're lucky. But by and large, you lead a life of quiet desperation, or you wouldn't be listening to me. I mean, think about that one. Why are you listening to me in this morning on a Friday? Because you're miserable, and I make you happy. Now, I find my joy in several different areas. I'm going to get back to the 25th Amendment in a minute. I find my joy, one of my highest joys is this. I'm a born performer because I have a lot to say. I watched, I don't know which show it was. They had nothing to say last night. I remember I was watching all the channels after Biden's speech to see who would cover it with any degree of intelligence. So I turned on Fox and Gutfield. He can be funny when when the writers are working well, Gutfield's funny. He's got a good delivery. It's droll. I like the guy by and large. His lines are good. He's got a very good team of writers. But the morons he had around them were shockingly stupid. It was like wasted airtime. They had nothing to say. When I go on this site here, like Twitter or YouTube, where you're seeing me, I make my words count. When I'm on Newsmax, those 3 minutes, 4 minutes, every word is carefully crafted. They're gems. Don't get up there and waste your time. Don't waste people's time by just shooting your mouth off. Who do you think you are, Kardashian or one of those douchebags who never should have been born? They're a waste of DNA, by the way. Yes, I'm a pessimist, of course. I am a pessimist. I've been pessimistic since I woke up to life. I woke up to what was going on in my life, the sadness in my childhood home. I realized life is not a bowl of cherries, boys and girls. It may be a bowl of tears from your own head. But you know what? Even a tear has salt in it that you can lick. Even a tear has crystals in it that you can see if you see brightly enough. But let's get back to the 25th Amendment. People are bandying it about, blah, 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 like it could happen. It ain't happening. It's not happening because she's got to do it. Okay? The majority of Congress is going to vote to remove him on the 25th? Never. Vice President the Giggler? Never. So that's the end of the story. He's going to stick it out to the end. He doesn't care what he does to the world. That's the end of the story. I think I'm through today. There's nothing more to be said because, I mean, I wish I could tell you, yes, it could be done, but no, I don't think so. Yeah, it's being said Democrats could force Biden out on the 25th. Nah, don't think so. 1 hour ago, Salon says this is over. Biden's Democratic critics say press conference not enough to stop growing revolt. I mean, the guy shot. He shot. And at the end when he whispered, it was something out of a horror movie. I don't know. I watched these things. It wasn't bad enough that he confused Zelensky, the criminal, with Putin, the dictator, and that he called Trump vice president. That wasn't bad enough. At the end, he leans into the microphone and goes, "It's not going to happen." It was eerie. It was like The Shining. We were watching a madman in front of our eyes, man. So it ain't happening. It was gone. It was finished. He asked, where's Trump been? Riding around on his golf cart? Filling out his scorecard before he hits the ball? That's the best he could do? Refers to Kamala Harris as Vice President Trump after calling Zelensky Putin? Is this 25th territory? Yes. Yes, especially combined with the past. He has not been fit to serve from the day he was born. He is a con man. You know, there are con men in the world that you ever watch, there's a couple of shows that I don't even think they're still on anymore. They're like crime shows that I like to watch. You know that there are career criminals and you see their lives unfold and then they're caught eventually. And this is a man who's been a career criminal. He is a con man through and through. There was a movie I referred to on Twitter the other day from 1970. It kept coming back to me when I saw him when I saw pictures of Biden in the 80s where the head was bald and he had the slick delivery and he came up with bullshit that I was first in my class in law school when he was near last. One lie after the other. Plagiarism. They threw the president of Harvard out for plagiarism. And this prick's been lying from the day he was goddamn in the House. And he got away with it. This prick's been lying from the beginning. So he lied his way into the presidency, and now all of a sudden they put an aura of protection around him that he can't be touched. Now he's president. So the con man gets into the White House. Now all of a sudden he has 10,000 people around him protecting him. Every piece of garbage in the media protecting him because he's a communist leftist piece of shit. I'm not going to curse anymore. It's early. I've not been drinking. It's coffee. I never drink before 5 p.m. I swear on your life. No, I don't drink in the daytime. It gives me headaches. I get sick. But he is a classic piece of mad doo-doo. He is the worst that humanity has to offer. Every novel I ever read in my life when I was young, whether it was Tolstoy or Dostoevsky, the greats, I've read the greats, and I read The Simpletons, and I read Henry Miller, who was great, by the way. Every novel about shysters, con men, was about Joe Biden. He is the epitome of the con man. He is the epitome of the faker who fakes his way into the highest office in the world. And then he's there and he fucks it up. He fucks it up, man. Sorry for cursing again. There's no words left. Sometimes the emphasis has to be prison level. I got to feel like I'm in a prison. There's no other way to talk about this guy. The man is a con man. He's screwing up the whole world. Now he's showing the whole world he's a putz, a lunatic, gone, shot. Brain is gone. The circuits are shot, fried, computers fried. Change the motherboard. So he's in there. They can't get him out because now the one thing you got to know about senility and dementia is they're the last to know it. Remember I told you 10 years ago when I was in the radio business that I was taught by my great professor in grad school. He was a professor of epidemiology, a great man at UC Berkeley. We used to have lunch in a cheap Chinese restaurant near the college. Wonderful man. I won't mention his name. It's unimportant. He was just a smart, wonderful, kind man. And he knew a lot. He was the dean of the School of Public Health. Great man. He said, you know, Michael, in the age of the first thing to go is judgment. Judgment. Think about that. So the first thing to go in Biden was his judgment. And then he said they don't know when they lose their judgment. That's him. That's the guy we're talking about now. So if it was an ordinary man in a household, we wouldn't be worked up. But this man controls war and peace, and he's waging war, not peace. You know, there are people who become lunatics like him or senile, and they become nice. They actually become kinder. That's unusual, by the way. Usually they become meaner. You know, a lot of people, you think when you're old, you're nice. Now, there's a lot of old bastards in supermarkets with shopping carts that bang them into women with children. You ever seen the old white guys running around with carts in supermarkets to try to bang into women's hands or bang in their backs? They're mean old guys in supermarkets. Now we have a mean senile guy in the White House. Think of Joe Biden pushing a cart around, banging into people. That's what he is now in an old age home. He's the type of guy, if you put him in assisted living, he would pick on women. He'd push women down steps. He'd throw hot coffee in the face of the attendant from Jamaica. He'd throw a hot plate on someone who was serving him food. So if you're a masochist, maybe you like Joe Biden. Okay. He was not cogent for 1 second. He said he was taking this second turn. He was running against Trump in order to pass the baton to a younger generation. Really? Did he pass it on? He won't let go. Because one thing is they won't let go. There was an elderly gentleman in the family that I knew of, the other side of the family. He was in his 90s, brilliant history professor, a wonderful man. But at a certain point when he was 93, they took away his driver's license. Okay? Someone's got to take away his president's license. Someone's got to step in, take away his president's license, because he's not going to let go of the wheel. He's an elder, a senile elder, who has his hand on the ship's wheel, and the ship is foundering in a storm. And we're passengers on the ship. And like dishes are flying, cutlery's flying, people are banging into each other. The ship is lurching port to starboard, starboard to port. He's hitting the bow thrusters at the wrong time. It's bow up, bow down, stern up, stern down, and he's not letting go of the wheel. He is whispering, I'm smart. I can handle it. I can handle it. I'm smart. Who is this man? Who is this man? They say there are other Democrats who could beat Trump. Really? Who are they? What polls are they run by Morning Joseph? The man is he's gone. It's not this one performance. It's every performance and the fact that he's a pathological lying bastard. It's not about polling. It's the fact that he's an evil con man who conned his way into the presidency and is now destroying the world. It's not one bad night. It's not one bad debate. This is an awful, genuinely awful man. It's heartbreaking to think that we have a country that would think that this lunatic con man can keep doing this for another 4.5 years. Are you that stupid? Are you that stupid that you think this con man could do this for another 4.5 years when he's screwing up so badly now? This is sickening. Everybody wakes up in the morning. I mean, I wake up now, and the first thing I look is to see if he's done something else that's crazy. It's becoming interesting. I mean, it's like, okay, what has he done today? Is he gone today? Did they remove him yet? Did he go out screaming? Did he try to hold on to the drapes as they pulled him out? Did he pull down the drapes in the Oval Office as they dragged them out? I don't know. I don't think it would be on video. That would be some story. As he's leaving, he kicks and screams and snails, and he grabs the curtains and pulls them down. Not funny. Not funny. So that's it. The 25th Amendment is not going to happen because Kamala has to do it. She's not up to it, number one. And number two, she doesn't have the marching orders to do it. So, yeah, they could force Biden out on the 25th. It's not going to happen. What happens if a U.S. president becomes incapacitated, as we are seeing in front of our eyes? Well, as I said to you at the beginning, the 25th Amendment was written on how to deal with a president who cannot perform his duties. And we have a president. Look at his eyes. The staring eyes right from the beginning. Any intern in any hospital could tell you he has the eyes of a demented individual, an old demented fool. Very dangerous. He runs the world. He even said, I run the world. I gave you the 25th. It was only added to the Constitution in 1967, I told you, after the assassination of JFK in 63. But what did the founding fathers have to say about it? I call them the founding fathers because I don't hold them up on a pedestal. The founding fathers could have anticipated the need for a line of succession if the president, quote, dies, resigns, and became debilitated. That's the original text of the 1787 document. But they left out critical details of who has the power to declare the pres unfit to serve. So the founding fathers did anticipate the need for a line of succession if the pres died, resigned, and became debilitated. But only after the 25th Amendment was actually written and introduced in 67 was there a clear protocol for dealing with such situations. So as I said to you, she's got to do it. If the VP and a majority of either the Congress agrees that he or she is unable to perform, it's not happening because then the VP becomes acting president. There's not enough time for this to be enacted. He's going to be here right to the end. Has it ever been used? Yes, after Nixon resigned from the presidency in 74, following the Watergate scandal. By the way, this scandal, I would call this the dementia scandal. This is bigger than Watergate. This is the dementia scandal. Write it down, or Dementia-Gate, whatever you want to call it from the old days. It's either Dementia-Gate or the dementia scandal. This is greater than Watergate ever was. Watergate was nothing. Nothing. Blown up by the vermin in the media who now you're holding up like gods, the schmucks in the media, low-life reporters who became, who are they? The two schmucks who did the Watergate. Two putzes. I knew one moron in the crowd when I grew up in Queens. He was the stupidest one amongst us. He couldn't do anything else. He went into journalism. That's who they are, schmucks. Then they teach him how to tie a Windsor knot. Okay, Section 3 has been used 4 times by presidents, including Ronald Reagan and G.W. Bush, to temporarily transfer their duties to the VP during surgeries and medical procedures. Now, Biden actually did that, making Kamala Harris acting president in November 2021. Did you know that? For an hour and 25 minutes when he had a colonoscopy. That's what they said. I don't know that it was a colonoscopy, by the way. Looking back, it may not have been a colonoscopy. He could have had another mini stroke. Okay? It's never been invoked. Has a president ever been unfit for office? Yes. I told you this on another podcast. After Woodrow Wilson, very left wing Woodrow Wilson, suffered a stroke during his pres in 1919, his wife, Edith, was quietly taking on all of his presidential responsibilities. It was concealed from the public, and Wilson served out the rest of his second term. So they called her the president. Remember, I did a podcast a while ago. You could look it up on my library of 400 some odd podcasts. Mrs. President. Is Jill Biden Mrs. President? Yes, she is. I said it first. It doesn't matter first. It doesn't matter who said it first. I did a whole podcast on it. You know, who's first anymore in this world? By the way, these are some of my books. If you don't know who I am, these are some of the books I've had published. There are a lot of others in the nutrition and health field. Nutrition, herbal medicine, homeopathy. I'm a world-famous ethnobotanist. My collections are in a major museum. My plant collections are in 7 major botanical museums around the world. Can't take it away from me, okay? So there's a little background to me. And I'm watching the world, and I've never seen anything like this. I've lived through, 7 presidents? I've never lived through anything like this. Never have I seen anything like this. So Reagan, in the post-25th Amendment era, staff in the White House in 1987, I think did they stop the recording? I don't know. There's nothing going on. If you can still hear me, I think there's a limitation to the time or something right now. Guys, can you say, yes, I can still hear you? Because I could go on or I'll just stop right. Maybe we're ended already. I don't know. This looks frozen. I think it's got frozen up. What happened here? Guy, I don't see any more comments coming in. I think we got frozen. All right. I guess that's the end of the show then, because something froze us up here. They cut me off. I bet you the YouTubers. All right, here we go. All right. Hey,